Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Lisa Palmer, Dr. Mama Bear, coming to you live from Central Florida on the topic of hurricanes and health challenges and holistic practitioners. Holistic practitioners. So you guys can say hello. If you're Floridian, are you ready? We have Hurricane Idalia on our west coast. We have Hurricane Franklin on the east coast, and we have something else hanging out a little bit more east of that. The spaghetti model. So our favorite website is spaghettymodels.com by Mike's weather page, a local Floridian that gives you the true data on what's happening with hurricanes. Keep in mind, they do not know where these storms go. So I'm a born and raised Floridian, been through multiple hurricanes, the worst being in 1992, Hurricane Andrew. And yes, hi, Robin. And we did not have power for 6 months. We did not live in our house for a year. My dad was very intelligent and bought a trailer, and we lived in a trailer on our driveway in front of our house for a year. It was catastrophic. Category 5 is no joke, right? And I remember as a kid, we were visiting my grandma's. We were in New York at the time, which was a blessing because we were not there for the hurricane. But it was also devastating because we came back to Miami and saw all the devastation to the point where we missed our street because so many trees were down and so many street signs were down, and it looked like a war zone. It looked like unrecognizable, right? It looked like, I remember thinking it looked like a giant took the pine trees and bent them in half like matches, like breaking matchsticks. Like it just was, it was amazing. It was amazing. It was devastating. It was crazy. And so I remember going to bed the night before the hurricane, and I remember them, the news saying like, "Oh, it's not going to hit Miami. It's totally fine. It's going to go do this other thing." Guys, they don't know. Like weather prediction is not good, right? And so I beg you, if you live on the west coast of Florida near the water, get the hell out of there, right? And so I was talking to a friend. So with the Hurricane Andrew, so I went to bed and I'm thinking, "Oh, well, the hurricane's not going to hit us." And then woke up to the devastation of the images on the news station in New York showing like Miami having so much damage, South Miami, so an area called Homestead, devastation, just awful. And it took a long time to rebuild the area. I mean, some good came out of it, like we got to meet our Miami neighbors, we formed a community. I tried to get out of homework because I was like, well, teacher, I don't have power, so I can't do my homework because it gets dark and I can't see. And she was very smart, and she was like, well, you make sure then your homework's done before the sun sets. And I was like, oh, that was smart. But the National Guard was there. We had curfew. People were stealing things. Ice was $10 a bag. I mean, it was really, really crazy times. And what I learned from that is, one, we're resilient. We came back home. We had to drive because the Miami airport was closed. We had to drive from upstate New York to where my grandma lived to Miami. And my dad was very intelligent, got a Ryder truck, got a moving truck, and purchased generators and containers for water and these big, huge cans for food, and just tried to prepare us the best we could. Hey, Amanda. Hey, Stacy, for what we were about to see. And so last year we had a nasty hurricane, Hurricane Ian, and the viewpoint was my friends on the West Coast, Tampa, Clearwater is where it was supposed to hit. And I was begging them, I'm like, please, please, please get away from the water. The storm surges are for real. There's a bridge called the Causeway, which when it rains, the waves will come up and splash onto the road. And on one hand, it's one of my favorite roads because there's water on both sides. But on the other hand, it's I think one of the scariest roads because it's not a high road. Like even I drove it earlier in the week, and I'm like, that water level like seems very high to the road. And so that's kind of concerning, right? And so a hurricane coming to that coast could cause flooding, could cause major damage, could cause major problems. And so my concern and how I get anxious before hurricanes, knowing the power of them, most people are like, oh, it's a hurricane party, just get beer and just have fun with your friends, and they're not anything to worry about. no, they're not anything to worry about, but there's definitely things to prepare about. And if you don't need to be so close to the water, and it definitely if you're in an evacuation zone or a flooding zone, you need to get out. You need to get off the coast. And so the hurricane that was supposed to hit Tampa did not hit Tampa and Clearwater last year. It hit more southern Port Charlotte, Fort Myers area and caused devastation. And the stories that we heard coming from that area were just like very extremely disturbing. And I'm not going to go into the details because then you may not sleep well tonight, but just awful, awful. When I first came to Central Florida, my viewpoint being from Miami is that Central Florida never gets hurricanes because we're so landlocked. And by landlocked, we're about 45 minutes from the East Coast and about 2 hours from the West Coast. We're safe. Well, in 2004, 4 hurricanes came through Central Florida and caused a lot of damage. And so all parts of Florida can be affected because these hurricanes like to cut across our state as well. And so I just encourage you, if you have it on your heart that it is not smart to be on the West Coast near the water, then please listen to that voice and get out. Get out. Houses that fill with water is a very disturbing thing. And where do you go? Where can you go when the water's rising quickly? When Hurricane Katrina hit Louisiana, there was a woman who met when I worked in professional women's soccer and men's soccer and semi-pro soccer and semi-pro men's and women's soccer. And she was part of the Louisiana team, and she had called me during Katrina, and I answered the phone, and she's like, "Dr. Palmer, I need your help." And I'm like, "What do you want me to do?" She goes, "We're in our ceiling, and we have a hammer, and we're like chipping away at our roof because the water is rising, and if we don't get out of our house, we will not make it." And she goes, "I need you to help me." And I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to help you. I'm in Orlando and you are in Louisiana, and I don't know how to help you or who to call or what to do. And it was just a very painful conversation because basically she was trying to reach out to someone for help. And yet I was so far away, I could not help. And luckily they broke through the roof. They broke through the roof of their house and they were on the roof and they got roof rescued, which was insane because the water rose that high. And so, again, if you're in an area that floods, if you're in an area with bad drainage, if you're in an area close to the ocean, I highly encourage you, no matter what side of the West Coast you're on, move inland, go inland an hour or two, get out of there. You can move your car and get out of there, right? But do it safely. Do it safely. So hurricanes make me anxious. Hurricanes make me upset. You guys can write if how you feel about what's happening. We prepared the office for any potential because tornadoes spin off hurricanes. And so that's one of the reasons why my house in Miami had so much damage is we think a tornado spun off the hurricane. My dad had a topper on his pickup truck and the topper was ripped off his pickup truck and thrown up into the highest pine tree by my house. That was crazy to see. He had the boat and the truck attached, the trailer attached, and this was like a couple ton truck and a ton or so boat, like very heavy fiberglass boat. And the storm picked up the vehicles and jackknifed them. We had an avocado tree in our backyard, and it would look like a giant, like twisted it, just like kind of broke it and twisted it. Part of our roof was gone. I mean, there was a huge ficus tree, probably 25 feet in diameter, huge, and it had fallen into the road. Thank goodness, because if it fell into that house, that would be it. And so very, very, very powerful storms. If you are in its path or projected path, please take the necessary precautions. And then we don't know what Franklin, I believe the name is Franklin's doing on our East Coast, right? And then there is a crazy spaghetti model that one of them cut across and come back across, which is insanity. So if you are a praying spiritual person, please pray that those storms go out to sea and do not affect anyone. Don't say send them north. Don't affect our friends in Alabama or in the Panhandle or in Georgia or South Carolina or North Carolina. Don't send them. Don't send them north. Don't send them south. Don't send them to another place. Pray they go out to sea and they just kind of dissipate, right? We don't want them negatively affecting any area. And so hurricanes suck, like not my favorite. Some people think they're funny. Some people talk about hurricane parties. Some people use them as an excuse to drink or miss work in school. I do not love them. So thank you, Heather, for the prayers. I don't love them. They make me anxious. And I wish I didn't stop drinking because, a Long Island iced tea might take the edge off. I don't know, or make it worse, right? But I'm the kind of person when the wind kicks up, I will stay up all night and make sure that there's no branches, that the family's safe, there's no flooding, there's no nothing, right? But it is terrifying. It really is. And so with that, in the holistic healthcare world, it is very interesting when you mess with weather patterns. And yes, I said that word on purpose. When you do that, there is a negative effect on the living things in its vicinity, right? So I've had patients mention they have pressure in their head, that these storms have a lot of pressure systems, right? So there's pressure you can feel in your head. I've been feeling off and on like pain in my teeth, and I don't have tooth pain, right? My teeth don't bother me. I just went to the dentist. The holistic dentist was like, "Your teeth are awesome. You can floss a little bit better." And I'm like, "Yeah, I think we all could floss a little bit better, but like, my integrity of my teeth are very good. So I don't have tooth pain, and so pressure in the teeth. Some people are reporting upset stomachs, right? Changes in vision, those kinds of things. So the pressure changes can have a negative effect. If you have products like Woo Oil from Systemic Formulas, you can put that topically on your sinuses. If you have essential oils, you can apply different essential oils. So Robin is suggesting Young Living's lavender is very calming, and I've purchased some lavender formulas from her that are diluted with coconut oil and rollers. So you can roll, lavender on different parts of your body, and it has a calming effect. Robin says the sounds are harrowing. Yeah. A tornado spinning off a hurricane sounds like any kind of tornado anywhere. Sounds like a train. And you need to get to a building. You need to get to a safe room in your building with no windows, right? And so my daughter thinks that hurricanes are super fun because she likes to. Last hurricane, we didn't have power for, I want to say, 3 days, which was awful. The first 2 days, the storm was still kind of hanging out, so the weather was cooler. Although the heat index the next 2 days for us is in the hundreds still, so I'm not quite sure how that works. But the third day, the Florida heat turned back on, and it was very, very hot. So those of you with pools, awesome. Hopefully your pool is well maintained and you have nice blue water that you can cool down in. But yeah, it's the sound of a tornado coming off a hurricane is not fun, and she does not like that sound. She gets very, very nervous in the closet. Last hurricane, there was lots of flood watches. It was a very wet hurricane, and so what happens is Central Florida has a lot of lakes, has a lot of rivers. We have the St. Johns River that is one of the rivers that flows north. So if we get flooding down here, the St. Johns carries the flooding up to Jacksonville, and then they have issues. The mouth of the St. Johns is on the East Coast up in Jacksonville. And if any kind of ocean, any kind of extra water comes in from storm surges, that can rise the river. And so we had several patients last hurricane that were flooded out of their houses. They had 2 inches, 3 inches, 6 inches, a foot, 2 feet of water in their house. And then you run the risk of, not being inhabitable. You can't live there. Mold risks, just not good stuff, right? So from a holistic practitioner, I'm a holistic practitioner, and I train other holistic practitioners on how to handle problems, how to help people with mystery conditions, right? They have a symptom, they've been to this specialist, they've been to Mayo Clinic, they've been to all these different people, and the specialists just don't know what to do. We're very, very good at cases like that. And the reason why we're good at it is we're looking for the cause. What is the cause of the eczema? What is the cause of the high blood sugar? What is the cause of the circulatory problems? What is the cause of the hair loss? What is the cause of the neurological tics, right? What is the cause of the symptom? When you have a symptom, the body is trying to say something is not right, something is wrong. So what is the cause of the symptom? And then what can be done to rebalance the body? Maybe it requires a vitamin like vitamin C. Maybe it requires some B vitamins. When you have high stress, you burn through a lot of B vitamins. And so if you burn through a lot of B1, you actually can have nightmares. So those of you that are like, I have nightmares, I feel really nervous, B1 might be a good thing to take. Maybe not at night though. So B1 can keep people awake at night. Hey, Dr. Matt. Hey, Robin. Hey, Heather. So we look at that. We look to see what is the cause. How do we rebalance the body? Not treat the body, not cure the body, not diagnose the body, but how do we rebalance the body, finding the cause? And then this really cool thing happens is the body heals itself, right? So we know that if you cut your finger, you don't have to, it's not the Band-Aid that heals your finger. It's not any kind of ointment that you put on your finger. Your body heals itself. You just have to remove the problem. You just have to either remove the problem or find the cause, right? And once you locate the cause, and how we do that is with a very specific technology called quantum nutrition testing, what enables us to do that in the office and at a distance. Once you are able to locate the exact cause, then you can locate the exact supplementation that helps to rebalance the body. And a body in balance can heal. A body in balance can function well. A body in balance has peak performance. A body in balance does what it's supposed to do, which is always heal, which is always be in a survival state, right? Be in a way that your body can repair itself, and is in a pro-survival state instead of a negative survival state. So Amanda says the body knows exactly what to do and can heal when given the right conditions. That is perfectly worded, Amanda. I totally agree. So that's what I want to talk to you guys about. I wanted to talk to you guys about the hurricanes. So again, if you are spiritual, if you are a praying person, then please push those storms, pray for those storms to go out to sea. Do not bother anybody else. Don't send them north to our friends up north. Don't send them east to our friends in the east or the west or whatever. Just get them away, right? Get them away, have them dissolve. If you're on the coast where there's a lot of water and potential, and you've been requested to evacuate, get out of there safely, right? Do not wait until the water rises. That's too late. And I'm not being dramatic. I'm just letting you know that is too late at that point. And then as far as health challenges, if you have health challenges, you do not have to wait on your health challenges. You can look at your health challenge as the water rising, right? So maybe if the water is at your ankles, you're okay with that. So I have patients a lot of times, they're like, it's my normal headache. I'm okay with that. It's my normal migraine. I miss, a day of work here and there, but it's fine. So maybe metaphorically, the water is rising to your ankles and you're okay with ankle. I almost said winkle. You're okay with ankle deep water. But then it starts to get to your knees and you start to panic, right? And so what does that look like? That looks like maybe a mom that has migraines several times a week, that has to be in a dark room and cannot function as a mom and cannot function as a wife and cannot function in whatever else she's doing to serve her family and her community, because now she's in a dark room with a bucket because she feels like hell and she's puking, right? So how well can you function when that metaphorical water is at your knees or at your hips or at your nose, right? So the longer you wait with health challenges, the worse the symptoms get. If you have a little tiny leak in your roof, maybe it could be patched, right? Maybe it could be patched, put some tar, maybe the roofer can handle that. But now if you have monsoon of water coming through, you're going to need a new roof, right? So the same thing happens with your body. If imbalances, if toxins, if parasites, if different types of injected materials occur, we'll just say it like that, so I continue this broadcast, happen, then you have to find a solution to rebalance the body. You have to find a solution to detoxify the body. And just because you saw an infomercial on it, or just because it's sold at your health food store, does not mean that is the exact right supplementation for you. Does not mean your body is ready to do that kind of detox. Does not mean that your body is ready to do that kind of parasitic cleanse or whatever it is. And so ideally with quantum nutrition testing, we evaluate for you, is this the next right step for you? Can we detox that heavy metal? Or is your body so beat up that we have to build it up first and then we can do detoxification? Is your body so toxic that we have to detox it first And then now we're able to work on performance. Is your body so toxic that you're not able to have kids? It does not mean, I'm going to be a little controversial, it does not mean that you need IVF or you need chemo drugs or you need to have your eggs removed. And some people are not going to like me saying that. And I'm not trying to offend you. If your body is not getting pregnant, it is not because you need to have an egg removed and have that kind of treatment. It is because something is not balanced in your system. And so if you balance your system and or your husband's system or both, then you can have a healthy kid and you can support a healthy pregnancy and you'll have a healthy child. Forcing the body to bypass its security system, to bypass its check engine lights, to bypass all those things comes with a price. And so I remember one of the first IVF moms I worked on, she was toxic. And the reason why she was toxic is a lot of those medications that they give them are very, very bad for the body. It is not healing for the body. And so I remember I'm working with her and she has health difficulties and I'm trying to balance her out. And I said, well, tell me more about IVF. Like I can totally appreciate wanting to have a child so badly that you're willing to do whatever it takes to get that done. But when you bypass the body, it comes with a result. And so she was explaining to me, and I was asking her in a very gentle, respectful way, right? I was asking her, what was that like for you? And she said it was kind of a nightmare, right? Her son was born. She's like, he's like an alien kid. I'm like, well, he goes, well, his eyes are too far apart and his head is misshapen and he does not act like a normal boy. Like he has health problems. And she goes, and I know that it's because we forced this pregnancy to happen. And so that really stuck with me as a practitioner because one, I wasn't very experienced in the IVF world, in the fertility world, and two, like to say that about your own child is disheartening, right? And then I had a woman who had worked in a fertility clinic in California. And the thing that she taught me was she said, well, with IVF is they take the women's eggs out and they fertilize it and then they grow the embryos. And so you as a family have to make the choice. So say you want to have two kids and then you have five embryos. What do you do with the other three embryos? What do you do when your body possibly can't hold pregnancies anymore because the body has too much age or too much toxins or too much? What do you do with those embryos, right? So then we get into like the spiritual and religious lines. Like, at what point does life happen? To me, if it's an embryo, it's definitely happening. And then what do you do at that point? And so one of my friends was telling me, she has a friend who did IVF and they had two IVFs successful, but they have an embryo and the embryo is just kind of frozen in time, right? Like super controversial. I understand, guys, I'm being super controversial, but it's something you should know because I didn't know as a physician. I did not know that they froze embryos and they kind of held on to them, right? And so my friend was telling me that her friend has to make the choice, like, what do you do? Do you destroy it? And what is your belief on that? Do you go ahead and get pregnant even though you really weren't expecting to have three or four or five kids? Do you donate it to someone else? And now your kid is, so your egg and your husband's sperm have formed this embryo. It is my opinion. You have your own opinion. It is your child, and they're going to take your child and give it to someone else. What do you do? And when she was explaining this to me, IVF is not cheap, by the way. She was explaining this to me that these couples would pay $100,000 cash because it's not covered by insurance. I was like, oh my goodness, like, wow. On one hand, medically, wow, like this can be done. That's pretty amazing, right? That's pretty amazing if you just look at it from a scientist standpoint. It's pretty amazing that can be done. But then when you look at it from a moral, ethical, integrity, whatever, like, oh my goodness, like these are the consequences of doing this. And what do you do with the frozen embryo? Like, how do you, I don't even know. Like, I don't have the answer because I'm not in that situation. And that is a situation that I'm not sure that people going into that really understand that at some point they will be asked to make a choice that I don't believe is a choice that a family should be put in the position to make. and is extremely controversial. And so, from a quantum standpoint, from a holistic healthcare standpoint, we look at if you're not getting pregnant, if you have horrible periods, if you have horrible hot flashes, if you have awful PMS where you turn into a monster, we look at why. And I don't want to suppress the symptoms with birth control. I don't want to suppress the symptoms with a shot. I don't want to suppress the symptoms by having the ovaries removed or the uterus removed or any of that. To me, those are not solutions, right? I want to find out, why did the body get so imbalanced that this female is suffering? Why did the body get so imbalanced that this guy is suffering? Why did the body get so imbalanced that this child is suffering? And then how do we rebalance using not medications, but using whole food nutrition, vitamins, herbs, and homeopathy and carbon technology? And so if you need our help, please reach out to my office, Palmer Natural Health. You can private message us on that channel. You can call the office, and we are happy to see if you're a candidate for quantum nutrition testing. To all my Floridian friends and people in the path of these storms, blessings, prayers, good vibes. I don't know what else to tell you, but I hope everybody has a very safe evening. I hope everybody has a very uneventful evening. My hopes and prayers is that you can get some rest. I don't know if I will be able to, but you get some rest, and that everything moves in the right direction, which my opinion is out to sea, away from everybody, that any humans, away from the humans. All right, guys. Well, I'm Dr. Lisa Palmer, Dr. Mama Bear, wishing you a very safe, uneventful night. If we can help you in any way, please reach out to our office, Palmer Natural Health. Good night, everyone.